Michigan handling business on the road against Penn State. Final score was 24-15. Michigan making it very, very clear they are still the bully. No Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines. We'll see what happens here going forward. It's Sunday morning right now, time of us recording this. Don't have any intel on what it's going to look like for him going forward, but we'll talk about this game right now. First things first, make sure you're subscribed. We want y'all a part of this now, okay? If you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, we are throttling towards 200,000 subs like Blake Corum was throttling towards the end zone yesterday, all right? Want y'all a part of this. Make sure you're dialed in. Also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Piquel. Great way for you to stay involved with the show, and we appreciate y'all so much in advance for that as well. So the main question coming in was, how was Michigan going to react? Because we had seen them play against lesser competition, seen them take care of business against Indiana and Michigan State, and that's all well and good, but how would they respond with the new filters around their team? And those filters were, as we mentioned, no Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines. Sherrone Moore, acting head coach. How is that going to look? Oh, by the way, also, you're up against your best roster in the entire span of your season. How are you going to look against a team with a little bit more of a pulse than what you've seen previously? Oh, and to add on to that, national spotlight on the road in Happy Valley. Michigan, your move. What are you going to do? And all I saw Michigan do was kind of assess the situation, kind of look it over. And to be honest with you, Michigan stayed Michigan. Defensively, a couple of game notes here. The formula was very, very simple. What I saw that Michigan defense do was say, we trust our guys on the back end. We trust Will Johnson. We trust Mikey Sanders still. We trust everyone in that secondary to handle business. And our defensive front is going to get after you. Like Kenneth Grant, a man 340 pounds, should not be making as many solo tackles as he did yesterday, much less chasing a play down from behind. What I saw them do was execute that formula to a T and then make the Penn State offense one-dimensional. Drew Aller, I think he's going to be really good at Penn State for a long time. That was not the case yesterday. Penn State had their own issues. Some of them were schematic, some of them were execution. A lot of them were imposed by the way that Michigan got after them in that front seven and trusted their guys to play across the board in their matchup on the back end, and that was kind of the way that it went. Don't get beat deep. They held Drew Aller to around 70 yards passing. Y'all, that's ridiculous. That's winning football. Anytime you make your opposition one-dimensional and then you're as stacked as you are on the offensive side of the ball for Michigan, good things are going to happen. So it was interesting how this whole thing started out, because look at the box score. You say, JD, Michigan ran for 200 yards. That must have been rolling all day long, right? Yeah, to a degree, but there was a portion early on in this game where Penn State, they came out swinging. You knew they would. Penn State, they'd been battle tested. They'd played in Columbus. They had had a little bit more of a giddy up and go to this point in the year than Michigan had in terms of who they've played. And my question right around midway through the first quarter, maybe at the end of the first quarter it was, is Michigan going to kind of show that new gear that we've seen to this point? Because we talked so much about J.J. McCarthy and how great he had been taking ownership of the offense and pushing the ball downfield. And what I saw Michigan do when they had a little bit of, I don't want to say trouble, but when they had a little bit of resistance stopping the run, instead of pivoting to throwing the ball deeper a little bit more, I saw Michigan double down on who they were. They said, okay, well, this wall doesn't want to break. Well, let's get a bigger hammer and let's swing harder. And so Michigan did not throw the ball in the second half. Ran the ball, pretty much at will. They said, we're going to get bigger human beings. We're going to add more bodies in there. We're going to demand the line of scrimmage. We're going to control the line of scrimmage. And that's going to be how we win today. And Blake Corum, 26 carries, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns with a game clincher to put that thing on ice in Happy Valley. That was the formula. Great teams have an identity. Michigan has an identity. I think they have some multiple facets of this offense they might use down the road, but they made it very, very clear. We like our guys, and if you can't and won't stop this formula that we're bringing up front, we're not getting away from it. Okay? Now, here's what I want to make sure we guard against. There's going to be a lot of folks today. It's early in the morning right now on a Sunday morning. I can tell you already, a lot of folks today going to get the Twitter fingers out and say, all right, let's get to this. J.J. McCarthy is mid. A lot of people are going to say that today because they're going to see that stat line and say he only threw for 60 yards. Michigan, one-dimensional offense, looking lackluster. I didn't see a quarterback who was mid. I saw a quarterback who did what was asked of him, who went 7 for 8, and when the game plan said, hey, we need to run the football, we want to run the football, I saw him play his role in that. I saw him make some plays with his legs, actually, and kind of be a difference maker and keep that Penn State defense off balance. J.J. McCarthy isn't mid. He was doing what was asked of him. And so if that offense wanted to throw the ball yesterday, I think they probably could have. I think there were some weapons that they could have pushed the ball downfield a little bit more and got him into a rhythm. My man had one incompletion. I don't know how you talk down on a quarterback who just did what was asked of him and executed the game plan. So, Michigan, like I said, handling business. Can we all relax now? Like we all had, our fun talking about the sign stealing stuff and is Michigan really going to be Michigan? Are they really that good? Like, can we all just relax on those takes now? Michigan, I promise you, did not have any signs that Penn State was running yesterday. Michigan, schematically, was not complex yesterday. I'm sure they did some things that were multiple in the run game to kind of try and throw Penn State off balance, but like what it came down to yesterday was our guys are better than your guys. We're not going to be cute. We're not going to dance around it. We're going straight at your throat. Can you stop it? And Penn State couldn't yesterday. And this is not to talk down on Penn State. I think, again, this points back to the point that we've been talking about the entire time this whole sign-stealing saga has gone on this show, is cheating and stealing signs the way that Michigan did, in the fashion they did, rather. How they executed it, probably against the rules. If there's evidence that comes out against that, that's hard evidence against the rules. No question. But Michigan still has a bunch of dudes that are going to play on Sundays on this roster. Michigan feels like they have 7 dudes on that offensive line that are going to get drafted. So this whole thought that Michigan somehow was only Michigan and was only the Big Ten champs because of sign-stealing accusations and things like that and breaking the rules, like, come on now. Can we all come back down to earth? Penn State's a good roster. Penn State, I thought, played Ohio State pretty tough. The difference was Marvin Harrison Jr. in that game. Penn State, they've upped their talent level, I think, a fair amount in the time James Franklin's been there. Michigan's still Michigan. Can we all agree on that? Michigan is still Michigan. I would also mention this. It's very curious when you look at the loud voices that are against Michigan in this sign-stealing saga that try and discredit them. Notice where those are coming from. Typically, it's from folks with an anti-Michigan agenda and folks that don't have a tremendous football background. And that's not throwing shade. That's just kind of the reality. If you look at people that have no dog in the fight and have no anti-Michigan, background or history, they're kind of just like, yeah, it is what it is, against the rules for sure. But is it determining Michigan's success definitively the last couple of years? Don't think so. I think that's kind of telling, if you will. So going forward for Michigan now, what's going on with Jim Harbaugh? Again, we're recording this very early on Sunday morning. No idea what this is going to be for him going forward. But it's very obvious that this Michigan team kind of is who they are. Like, they're going to play with an edge, and they have all the ammo they need to contribute to that edge. But something that I thought was interesting yesterday, this Michigan team, yeah, they put an exclamation mark on it when they had that game won, and Sherrone was obviously emotional, and you had J.J. McCarthy throwing up the binocular celebration, and you had Blake Corum doing the sign-stealing celebration and kind of wagging his finger at that, and like that was all fun, and I think right in line with what we've seen Michigan be. But early in this game, as Michigan was starting to wear down Penn State and kind of have that heavy weight that was on their back and eventually lean on them, there was no extra emotional edge. This Michigan team, I thought, for the most part, did a really good job being controlled and not making this game an overly emotional Jim Harbaugh kind of thing early in the game. Now, I understand at the end of the game, emotions ran wild, 100%. No dispute against that. But we've said this for a while now. External motivation only does so much for you if you want to win a national title, and Michigan does. It's why they're, on the march they are this year. It's going to take the internal motivation, the internal temperature being set just right. And I saw a lot of that yesterday against Penn State with how they handled their business early. At the end of it, for sure, like I said, exclamation mark, did it for Harbaugh, all that. But early in the game, I thought it was a poised operation, and I thought they held their water really, really well. So, again, Michigan handled business 24-15 over Penn State on the road, making it clear they are, in fact, still the bully. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Piquel. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Going to keep this party rolling now. We will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.